for baseball. We're here for football. But all right, I'm just gonna try to keep it together, Ali. I'm gonna try to keep it together, man. I'm gonna try to keep it together. I'm still processing. This is what processing sounds like. It's just a bunch of jibber jabber coming out of my brain. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It is episode 89 of the Winging It podcast. We're not with Alex today. Alex, unfortunately, is off in Chicago. He's off. He's eating deep dish pizza. He's going to the original the Bear restaurant, getting some beef sandwiches. He's saying hi to Michael Jordan. He's saying
Michael Jordan.
He's shaking hands with Barack Obama. He's probably, I don't know. I wonder what Alex is doing right now.
I wonder what Alex is doing. You know, it'd be nice if he chimes in the chat. You know, if he's got an opportunity to hop in.
He's like, what the hell is going on over there right now? Oh man.
Yes.
So everyone, as you know, this is it. We're winging it, man. We're winging it. It's episode 89. We're winging it. Please follow us everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Every single place, platform, anything. Click, subscribe. Give us a comment. But yeah, the main ones are Instagram. Wingin.it.pod is where you can find most of our goodies. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify Podcasts. Those are really the main ones. So please follow, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We are coming out of the bye week. All right, ladies and gentlemen, week 5 has just surpassed. The Eagles we're still at 2-2. Good news, we didn't lose last week. So we are maintaining that 500 record, and we're about to take things. We're home this week. Is that right? We're back home again.
We're back home
again, finally, hosting the Cleveland Browns, who just got their butts whooped by the Washington Commanders. And Ali, that's where I want to start today's conversation. Let's just talk about this NFC East for a hot second before we get into any Eagles chatter, because this past weekend, which feels like it's a while ago, because this episode will be coming out on Friday morning, maybe late Thursday night. We'll see. But all the NFC East teams won this past week. The Cowboys beat the Steelers in a thriller on Sunday night. They won on Sunday night. Cowboys win on Sunday night. The Giants, absolutely, that might have been the most surprising result of the week. The Giants beat Seattle in Seattle. Did not see that coming. And of course, like I said before, the Commanders just took it to the Cleveland Browns. The Commanders look very good at the moment. So, simple question, Ali. Which of these teams are for real, and which of these teams are just, it's just a tease?
Well, first of all, Andrew, thanks for the lovely question and the lovely intro. It is great to be with someone to be able to commiserate over what just happened, but it's also great to talk a little bit of smack on Alex, because you guys have been without me for a couple of weeks in the last month, and now he's not here. He's not here to defend himself. So, Alex, his eyes may be a little too close together. That's the best thing I could come up with on short notice.
Was that like a Derek Carr thing?
I'll take it. I was just trying to figure out like how to diss Alex, and that was the best I could do. So
his eyes are too close together. That's the best.
Moving on.
You have a chance here to absolutely rip into our boy, and that's what you go with.
Yeah, I can't rip too hard into the guy. I love the guy. I can't, his eyes aren't actually that close together. I was just trying to come up with something on the fly. But anyway, the fact that you said that we didn't lose last week, I have some qualms with that statement, because I feel like we lost last week, because the Commanders won, because the Giants won, and because the Cowboys won in a very, very, I just don't like to see the Cowboys be successful in that kind of fashion. I like to make them feel like they have a chance at coming back in a game before they actually lose. So what I would say about this weekend and what we've got going on with the NFC East is, holy cow, where did Jayden Daniels come from? The guy is playing out of his mind. I don't know I think it was, who was the last rookie MVP? Was it Jim Brown? I think it may have been Jim Brown was the last rookie MVP.
Yeah, I can't even imagine a rookie winning MVP. Like it just feels like it's so far out there. And like especially for quarterbacks, Ali, it's rare to just see no matter where a quarterback is drafted, especially quarterbacks that we see drafted at the top of the draft. It's rare to see them actually perform well in their very first year. So
I mean, Jaden Daniels so far in the regular season has a 77.1 completion percentage. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards, 1135. He's got 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and that's not counting his rushing statistics, which
mhm.
I'm pulling up on ESPN right now. But I mean, he is playing out of his mind. He's got he has, yeah, see, ESPN can't see, not good. ESPN, step up your game. He's got 4 touchdowns rushing on what appears to be close to 400 yards on the ground. I
Wow.
mean, again, I don't want to. It's only been 5 games that he's played this season, and the league is young of this year, right? This year's is a bit too early to crown a champion. It's a bit too early to crown an MVP, but the way Jaden Daniels is playing right now, it looks like he's been playing in this league for years. I'm really impressed by the guy. I'm ashamed to say this as an Eagles fan, but I actually like watching him play. The way he just like just the game just comes to him so smoothly, and how he plays the game, and the way he was able to rip off that just long ball after, escaping a rush from Miles Garrett, and then just like ripping that pass 50 yards down the field to Scary Terry. I'm like, this guy can flat out play, and he's
Mhm.
fun to watch, right? Like that's the two things you want out of an entertaining football player is he's good, he's fun to watch, and he can flat out play.
Man, and it feels like almost yesterday that we got those same feels watching our quarterback play. This guy that was a dual threat, this guy that not only could beat you with his legs, but Jalen learned how to throw. And now, now we're watching Jaden Daniels just absolutely set the league on fire in his first 5 games as a rookie. Look, Washington a couple years ago, Robert Griffin III was drafted. He honestly like it is like a second coming of Robert Griffin III because when he was a rookie, I feel like he was incredible. I think he put his body on the line a little too much, took too many hits, suffered some really bad injuries, and was just never the same afterwards. So, note to Jaden Daniels. I'm not saying this as an Eagles fan. I'm just saying this as like you. I like watching the guy play, and I want to. Man, now that just puts us in a weird position. It's so hard to be a fan. Like I feel that way about McLaurin too. I've always liked Terry McLaurin. It's easier to like these players when they're not a threat. But now it
Yes.
actually seems like Washington is a threat, so I feel like I need to like maybe chill a little bit. But like, look, you got to call it like you see it. You got to give respect where it's deserved. And like Jaden Daniels he's balling, so he's showing no signs of slowing down. I will be so happy as an Eagles fan if we split 1-1 with them this year because last year, I don't know if anyone remembers, when they had Sam Howell as their quarterback, we probably should have lost both games to them. So it's
Yeah. Yeah, we should have. And then the year before that, let's all remember the first game of the season that we lost was against Taylor Heineke. And again, Alex isn't here to defend himself. He loves a good story. He
love
loved
Taylor
Taylor
Heineke.
Heineke. And I can't be mad at him at this point because I think I like Jaden Daniels. I like how he approaches the game, and it's not, the moment is not too big for him at this point in time.
4-1. Washington is 4-1. Dallas right behind them at 3-2. I'm actually a little surprised Dallas is 3-2. They have not been looking like a team that's above 500. So I guess good for them. Figuring out how to win games. And then you got your Eagles at 2-2, and then the Giants are currently 2-3. So division is really it's completely up for grabs at this point. None of the teams, oh no, I think Dallas and New York have played each other once, but that so far that's been the only interdivisional NFC East game so far. So that
The
things are going to shake up.
the Commanders and the Giants played. I think they
Yeah.
played week 2. The Commanders won. It was a pretty close game. That was the game that the Giants, I think they scored all field goals. I think they scored 6 field goals and still lost.
Or did Washington kick off? No. You know, I hold on a sec. Now I'm kind of curious. If you got anything else that you want to like if you have anything else on the top of your head that you want to start just talking about while I stall and try to
You
find the
might be
result real
right. Yeah,
quick
it was Washington who scored all field goals in that
and
game
still won the game.
and still won the game. You're right. You're right. Well, in any case, I think this was a fun week in the NFL to watch, despite all of the teams that I wanted to lose ended up winning. But it was still a fun weekend to watch. I think the fact that we're 5 weeks done in this season right now. We've got two teams that look like they're absolute juggernauts in the Minnesota Vikings, which let me tell you, Vikings fans here in Minnesota, they are very, very used to heartbreak. So whenever I talk to any one of them about their 5-0 team, not one has expressed excitement. They're just like, I'm just waiting for them to let us down. So let's put the Minnesota Vikings aside.
I do have to ask though, like, are people like Darnolded up? Like I
No.
can't help but notice that this feels very, very reminiscent of Case Keenum, like coming out of nowhere as this quarterback who's bounced around a little bit. Now he's, a veteran. He's been around the league for a while. And here he is out of nowhere, just like guiding a team to success. And I I don't think anybody envisioned Sam Darnold being in the MVP conversation at this point of the season. So yeah, really impressive stuff. And honestly, I think a lot has to do with their defense as well. Seems like they've been a little bit beatable through the air, but their rush
Yeah.
defense is awesome.
Yeah. No, everyone that I've talked to that really understands the game of football here in Minnesota has nothing but love for Kevin O'Connell.
Mm-hmm.
And so do I. Right? For us to be able to watch a coach lose his starting quarterback when he was having a career season last year with Kirk Cousins, to go over to Josh Dobbs, a guy that just like came off a plane, was literally still in the hotel room and won his first football game. And then going to what was it? Nick Mullins?
Yeah.
I think it was Nick Mullins, right?
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell has done what I would consider adequate to stellar head coaches are able to do in the NFL, is that they're able to milk as much out of their team as humanly possible and will them to win. I think Kevin O'Connell, what he's done, what Brian Flores has done with his team, honestly, Brian Flores is like, for me, he's got such a soft spot in my heart because of what happened to him a couple of years ago when he was on the Dolphins. And then Bill Belichick was like, hey, saw that New York's really excited about you. And then Brian Flores was like, yeah, I'm excited too. And then he was like, wait a minute, you're talking to Brian Flores, right? Not Brian Dable. And then Bill Belichick was like, oops, wrong text. I'm just excited for Brian Flores. I'm excited for the people here in Minneapolis because again, they've seen a lot of heartbreak and we all remember what we did to them in the 2017 season. But speaking of the 2017 season, if you recall back then, the Eagles weren't necessarily a contender until around week 6 or week 7. At least the NFL wasn't talking about the Eagles as legitimate Super Bowl contenders until around the halfway point. I think we had lost 2 games in the season. We were like 1-2 after losing to the Chiefs. And that was the beginning of our turnaround. I think that was the game that we had won against the New York Football Giants when Carson Wentz said that he was going to give Jake Elliott his game check if he made that game-winning field goal.
Oh, yeah, it was like a 62-yarder or something crazy.
It was. So when I think about, sort of my outlook for the remainder of the season, and I had a chance to sort of reflect on all the heartbreak over the last 4 weeks, but I had an opportunity to sort of reflect on the remainder of the season. And usually this is kind of how NFL seasons happen, right? We have like these juggernaut teams that show up from the beginning. They either sustain that success or they kind of fall off in the midpoint of the season. And then you've got the majority of your contenders that frankly, some of them end up going on to win the Super Bowl, show up around this time frame, what we're about to hit right now of week 6 and week 7. So I think if the Eagles are able to come in against the Cleveland Browns, which is not hard to do, the Eagles have the easiest remaining NFL schedule out of any team in the NFL right now. If we are able to handle our business, there's no reason why we should not make the playoffs this year. What do you think?
I'm glad you brought this up, and I think it helps me kind of cope with this fresh Phillies loss.
We won't talk about it.
We won't talk about it, but I do need to draw the parallel between what it felt like last year as an Eagles fan, where the expectation comes from the hot start. The expectation comes from looking at a very talented roster. And when you're when you're just getting when you're feeling that excitement during the regular season, I don't want to say the regular season doesn't mean anything, but it feels that way when you get to the playoffs and it's just over like that. So like, yeah, obviously the Eagles were 10-1 last year and ended up like, then they couldn't win a game to save their lives at the end of the year, losing the first round of the playoffs. And, the Phillies, it's like they were the hottest team in baseball. They kind of, limped their way into the playoffs, but it's like, you want to see a team do better each season. And I think where I struggle, it's like I want to feel hope. I think we all want to feel that sense of hope. And so like with the Phillies, where it's like they make the World Series, then last year they were ousted a round before that, and now this year they're out a round earlier than that. And with the Eagles, they make the Super Bowl, and then the year later they lose in the first round of the playoffs. It should be going the other way. We should be working our way up. We should be building. And when it feels like you're when you're losing a round earlier every year, all I can think is like, this isn't supposed to happen. We're too good for this. This team is built for longevity. This team is built, we have a window, and if we don't take advantage of it, then what? So we're in that Eagles window, man. And I think it's okay that we're not 4-0 right now. I think it's totally fine that we're 2-2 and we look shaky. I think that in true Philadelphia fashion, we are always at our best when the expectations are the lowest. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's just a Philadelphia thing. I don't know. I can only speak from my own experience, but it feels like once the pressure is off a little bit, or we start lowering our expectations, that's when all of a sudden these teams want to start turning things around, and then they get us excited again. And then, you kind of just go around in the same circle. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's like this season is young. I think like we have the easiest remaining schedule. I think there's a lot to be excited about. And one of the things I'm the most excited about is like, now we actually have our Pro Bowl players back. We have it looks like both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith will be back this week. And I really don't want to have to come in here next week and rip on Jalen Hurts and decision-making, because now it feels like, dude, there's no excuses now. You have your guys. You have the people who make you feel comfortable in this offense. You have a bye week. I think Lane Johnson is coming back. I actually have a list of practice participants. So AJ, Devontae, Lane Johnson, Reed Blankenship practice in full. Sidney Brown looks like he might be coming back. I don't know why. I don't know if that's why Devin White, or if that was like the move that made us release Devin White because Sidney Brown's back. I don't know. That Devin White signing is still utterly confusing to me. Okay, but yeah, I guess the rest of the names here aren't nearly as important as the first three I mentioned. So you're going against the Cleveland Browns, man. Like, this is a team that looks bad. Deshaun Watson looks bad. Again, they just got crushed by Washington. Like, this is a game that the Eagles have no excuses to lose. So I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, man. I'm emotionally drained right now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And I think to add one name to that list is Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean is going to be starting over Avonte Maddox this weekend.
Nickel corner this week.
And frankly, I'm excited. I have not seen Avonte Maddox on tape this year where he wasn't getting burned by anyone, right? And I think we've got a pretty serious issue with our tackling. We've got pretty serious issue with our coverage, with the exception of Slay, right? Like that pass that he gave up to, I think it may have been Chris Godwin on over the middle of the field when Baker just like threw the ball in a rope. I don't know what more he could have done to defend that play. I honestly don't. I think Slay was in the right position. Sometimes you just throw an undefendable ball, and I think Baker did it on that one pass. But I'm excited for Cooper DeJean to come in here and showcase what he has. I'm excited for Sidney Brown, man. Sidney Brown is, dude, that dude runs downhill everywhere. I'm excited to see him get back on the field. To your point, if Jalen is still struggling against the Cleveland Browns, even though the Cleveland Browns do have a pretty solid defense, I will say that's kind of the only thing that they have. Um, if he struggles against the Cleveland Browns, I if Sam Darnold can be successful with Addison and Jefferson and Jalen Hurts cannot be successful with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley, I'm more convinced that this is a coaching issue than anything.
I mean, you're using Sam Darnold as an excuse, but Justin Jefferson is arguably the best receiver in the league, and Jordan Addison is a very good second-year player. I would rather even just use the example of the team that the Cleveland Browns went against last week, which was the Washington Commanders, not to bring them up again, but a rookie quarterback throwing to, yes, Terry McLaurin is a very good receiver. I don't know. I don't think he would even be I don't think he'd be considered a top 10 receiver in the league, maybe top 15. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a bona fide number one wide receiver on a team. But like after Terry McLaurin, you have old Zach Ertz as your tight end, and you have like Diami Brown and Alameda Zacchaeus as like your next two receivers. So Sam Darnold arguably has better options to throw to than rookie Jaden Daniels does. So that's where I'm like, if Jaden Daniels only has McLaurin, Diami Brown, and Zacchaeus, and we're over here with, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and then I'm not even going to include Jahan Dotson, but if you're just looking at Jahan Dotson as a former first-round draft pick, like at the end of the day, like we also have Saquon Barkley, an elite, maybe the best running back in the NFL this year. So all of this to say is there is no excuse.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse, especially when you add in the former first-round draft pick, Jahan Dotson.
Especially.
I think that's how you got to refer to Jahan Dotson from now on. I was sitting back watching the game and watching the former first-round pick, Jahan Dotson, do absolutely nothing. And it made me question why we traded for him. No, I agree. I think if we cannot execute the way that we can, which I feel like we're going to come out of the gates on Sunday, and we can get into our thoughts on this game coming up, like what are some of the big matchups that you feel like we need to watch out for. But this team, for recent memory, and all of my recent memory, feels like they've been sleepwalking the entire first half. They've been doing it since the first game of last season against the New England Patriots, sleepwalking through the first half, putting together some type of drive in the third quarter, end of the third quarter, and then all of a sudden coming alive where Jalen Hurts just like tries to out talent everyone. And it was working. It was working for 10 out of the 11, first 11 weeks of the season last year before it all finally fell apart. I think we've got more talent than we did last year, and we're still trying to work the same formula that we were last year. Now, granted, we are motioning a lot more. Jalen Hurts is lining up under center and in the pistol. He's not in the shotgun as much anymore. All of those things are positives, but I still don't want to take away from the fact that we are still sleepwalking through the first half of every game.
Yeah. I think that, it's like which game did our offense look the best this year? Oddly, it was the first game of the season in Brazil. But like, the only thing I can really take from that is like, I truly believe that Jalen Hurts is only truly comfortable when he has his boy AJ Brown out there. That he like just him knowing that AJ Brown is somewhere brings Jalen comfort. I don't know this for sure. I might be making up a narrative here, but it would make a lot of sense. He's looked pretty much lost the rest of the way. So I just think that like having AJ back on the field, it makes me a lot. I mean, as watching the game, obviously makes me a lot more comfortable. But I think I think there is something to be said about their chemistry, and it's very evident. I mean, even when Jalen scrambling and AJ kind of knowing what to do during those scrambles, it's just like you can't do the same things without him that you can with him. Like there's no replacing that. So like first and foremost, just having that back in the offense is just going to do wonders for this team. I forget what else I was going to say. Dang it. There was like another good point, but I guess it doesn't matter because I can't remember it. Oh my God, dude. Why Phillies? Why?
It's okay. Just let
The
it out.
Mets.
Just let it out.
The Mets.
I know.
And damn it, the Mets they outplayed like they deserve it. Like they were better in every aspect. Oh my god. Okay. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be fine. Good God. But also I think I remember what I wanted to say is can we just like I don't know, can we just like score some points in the first quarter this week? Like can we just
First
score
drive.
a point? Like even if it's a safety, like even if it's the defense, can we just somehow get points up on the board in the first quarter? That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Oh, I did remember actually what I wanted to say.
Yep.
Now like last week was week 5 and it did feel a little bit like we are out of the preseason, and it all started with that Thursday night game between the Falcons and the Bucks, which was like a scoring explosion. And I feel like that really did carry into this past weekend. There were some like big performances, like even guys like Garrett Wilson on the Jets, where it's like, people waiting for this guy to start showing why he had so much expectations, and he had like 13 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. And it just seems like a lot of offenses are like starting to click. So that also makes me feel it's like they've had enough time at this point to kind of build some chemistry with one another, and like it just further exemplifies why Jalen has no excuses at this point. Like,
Right.
it's time.
So what do you think some of the key matchups are in this game?
Key matchups. Well, Myles Garrett is a very, 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 very good pass rusher. So our offensive line is obviously going to have to do their thing and protect Jalen. We're going against maybe one of the worst quarterbacks that we're going to play all year. So this is like a real opportunity for not only for us to maybe get some sort of pass rush on the quarterback, but also to just like get some defensive stops, like not let up a ton of points. They don't have a strong rushing attack, like I don't know, like going into this year, like they have Amari Cooper. Like Amari Cooper is still a solid wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy has kind of never really met his expectations.
The Jag, just another guy.
Just another guy. Yeah, Jack, I like that. So like, oh my God, where's my crap here? Sorry. Oh my God, I'm out of sorts. I'm just like Cleveland is dead last in total yards per game. They're 30th in points scored per game. They're 28th in pass yards per game. They're 27th in rush yards per game. Like they are bottom of the pack. Like they are not a good football team. I do think they do have like a solid defense. So like it's not going to be a cakewalk for the Eagles offense, but really like from our team's defensive standpoint, like this is a very, very good matchup to build some confidence and to see some guys make some plays. So I'd like at a minimum, one turnover. Can we get a turnover? Can we just win the turnover battle? So
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna win the turnover battle. Honestly.
Why? Because we have Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. Yes. What's your score prediction on this game?
Give me the Eagles 27. Yeah, 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I like that. Give me 27 for the Eagles. Give me 16 for the Browns. 27-16.
16 for the Browns.
1 touchdown, 3 field goals.
Well, the Cleveland Browns have given up the most explosive plays on defense this year. That is who we're facing on defense. They have given up 16 explosive pass plays. That's passes over 20 yards. They've given up what's considered an explosive play, which is a 10-yard plus rush gain, 19 times this season.
Wow.
Basically, they on 15.4% of offensive rushes, it's been a 10+ yard play.
So what do you suppose the Eagles might try to do if that's the case, Ali?
I think the Eagles are going to try to pass.
Right, because why would they ever do the thing that makes any sense?
Yeah, why would they ever use the $20+ million running back that they just signed. I don't know why they would do that. The Philadelphia Eagles, in my mind, are kind of at a crossroads here in week 6. We're either going to find ourselves, Jalen is going to get over his issues with Nick Sirianni, and they're going to move on and they're going to win games because that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they get paid to do. They don't get paid to have tiffs. They don't get paid to let those tiffs affect their play on the field. They get paid to perform at the highest level where there's expectations. Having said that, I think this game is going to end with a score of 13-10.
Stop it. No.
I think this.
If the Eagles do not score more than 13, wait, I don't even know which team you have scoring. I'm going to let you finish.
This game is going to end 13-10 in my mind because I have not seen anything coming out of our front office, out of our back office, out of our side office, or anything of the sort that leads me to believe that this relationship issue that Jalen has with Nick Sirianni, this issue of Nick Sirianni's coaching has on the team, I haven't seen any of that being rectified over the last 2 weeks. I think this game is going to...
What about Kellen Moore's ability to run an offense?
I think if Nick Sirianni gets fired this season and Kellen Moore starts calling all the plays, I think you will see a difference on this team. I really do. Because what I said a couple of weeks ago was that football, granted, right? You've got the guys that believe in the analytics. You've got the guys that believe just in their gut instinct. I'm still a big believer that you have to play situational football. And on 2 occasions out of our 4 games this year, Nick Sirianni has shown an unwillingness or an inability to play situational football, and it cost us the game on one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Eagles winning this football game.
So you're referring to the Atlanta game where we decided
Correct.
to throw the ball on 3rd down. I've actually been thinking more about that game. And even when I remember Alex and I were kind of discussing like who deserves the most blame. And I kind of had like a multitude of answers. Like I don't put the full blame on Saquon. I do for that play because it like as a professional receiver
should catch it.
It's like it was a very short pass. Like you should catch the ball.
Yes.
I don't agree with the play call, of course, but I cannot help but also go back to the fact, and this also came from you showing us that the play that Jalen threw the interception on last week. Say what you want, but like the Eagles had over 30 seconds left on that last drive to like they were literally at like the 45 with almost 30 seconds left in the game. Like that was still such a winnable game. That it was a collaborative effort to really screw that up. Like I can't point the blame in any one direction. Like, yeah, the defense should have never gave up that final drive. And yeah, we should have never gone for it on 3rd down. And yeah, Jalen threw an interception. So it was like, it took a team effort to screw that game up.
And that was the team that beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because the next week right after that, we got blown out by the Bucs, and the Falcons beat the Bucs last week. I do think the Eagles are going to lose this game. I think we're going to lose it 13-10. I think Deshaun Watson is going to, I don't know, wake up from his massage nap and come out. And he's
So
going to do
our happy ending.
Nice. He's going to do at the bare minimum that it's going to take to win this football game. And
Ali,
my hope...
I cannot even believe that oh my God. I'm like, I can't even picture if the Eagles, like I can picture if the Eagles lose this game. I that might be the only way Sirianni doesn't make it through this entire season. Like that really, I think would actually call for Sirianni to be fired, which we just saw Robert Saleh lose his job as the Jets head coach. And
that's after losing to the Minnesota Vikings, who are undefeated.
Right. But a lot of people want to like compare the two, or it's like, if Robert Saleh can get fired and it doesn't like, then why can't Nick Sirianni? But I do have to look at the body of work here, and Nick Sirianni has made the playoffs every single season, and Robert Saleh hasn't, so it's, I'm not going to say that like last year Aaron Rodgers got hurt, so who knows what that season would have looked like if Rodgers was healthy. So in that, it's hard. I don't know. Like sometimes you just need a scapegoat. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to do something to try to just change the dynamic up. And it's an ongoing conversation if that's the right thing to do for Philadelphia. And I don't know. I'm not ready to take that step yet. As much as I don't love Nick Sirianni, I don't know if it's been the right time to do that. But I do think if they lose to Cleveland, that might actually be cause be I don't know what I'm trying to say, but that might actually be what does it.
Grounds for termination.
Thank you. Exactly.
And maybe that's just wishful thinking on my end, right? If Robert Saleh was able to get fired over losing to the Minnesota Vikings, the undefeated Minnesota Vikings,
it wasn't just from losing this one game. You know, he didn't get fired for losing.
It wasn't just from losing this one game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers did throw like 3 interceptions. Like, right. He's not going to go out on the field, right? Like Saleh isn't going to go out on the field and actually like throw the balls himself. Like his players still have to execute at the end of the day. I'm just hoping that the situation in Philadelphia gets to a point where Jalen has competent coaching staff, where he has the ability to be himself and not this sort of refined version that we've created from the beginning of last year. After he got the bag of money, Jalen, you can't run. Jalen doesn't take too many hits, when it's like a significant part of his game and it's a significant reason why we were successful in 2022. He came out in 2023 not doing that. I can tell you the number of quarterbacks that I've seen do that over the course of my tenure have not been successful. McNabb, when he decided to be a pocket passer, was not as successful as when he was a dual threat. Michael Vick, I'm not calling Jalen Hurts the same as both of those guys, right? Like, I'm not asking Jalen Hurts to scramble for like 30 yards on every play, but what I am asking for is a little bit of pocket awareness, pocket presence, an ability to buy time with plays, kind of like Jaden Daniels was doing last week, kind of like Patrick Mahomes does on a weekly basis. He's aware of the defenders around him. He's aware where his pass blocking scheme is, and he just kind of shifts himself around the pocket to buy his players time. Jalen just doesn't do that anymore. As soon as he feels pressure, he rushes out to his right side, and then he just tries to find A.J. Brown. If he's not there, if Devontae Smith isn't there, then he just throws the ball out of bounds. I'm just kind of tired of this like cookie cutter way of playing for Jalen Hurts. It was the off schedule, sort of nature that he was playing the game 2 years ago is not the same anymore, and I want that back.
I hear that. I think it was pretty evident last year that there were lingering injuries that were really limiting his ability, especially as a runner. This season so far, it looks like there has been a little bit more effort to run. The first 2 games of the year, he had 13 rush attempts. Granted, the first game was 13 for 33 yards, so that was only 2.5 yards per carry. The second week against Atlanta he rushed for 85 yards, which is very, very impressive. So that was 6.5 yards a carry. Also had a rushing touchdown. But to your point, the last 2 weeks he's had 8 carries each week. 2 weeks ago was for 25 yards, and most recently 20 yards. So he's not putting up these big rushing performances like we were accustomed to seeing in 2022. So I hear you there. I think that, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know, because like it seems like there are these like drawn up run plays like up the middle that sometimes can be successful. It seems like any of these improvised plays are not effective at all. And I think the most annoying thing is like kind of just seeing like that one read, giving up on it, and just like backpedaling or like running outside and just not really being able to do anything. So it's been frustrating to watch, but I really disagree with us only scoring 10 points this weekend. God, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I think that we will eclipse 10 points in the first half. Like, if we can't, like, I'm that confident in AJ Brown coming back. Like literally for nothing more than AJ Brown being back on the field, this team will score more than 10 points. Like I'm like freaking myself out with the thought of like not being able to score more than 10 points against the Cleveland Browns. Like Ali, so help me if you're right. I will not I won't get over it. I won't get over it.
Well, let's figure out what other ways we can drown our sort of, maybe not drown ourselves, but like distract ourselves this
Uh-huh.
coming weekend than this like god awful sort of matchup that we have where we're 9.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns at home. I think this might be the biggest spread this weekend. It is.
Go fit. Who would have thought that the Eagles have are the biggest favorite of the week after how they've been performing this year?
Look what Kona EV has.
What are you listening to there?
Sorry, I was looking at an article about the Cleveland Browns.
I'm actually curious to see. I when I was looking at the standings, it still had the Eagles as like the most likely team to win the championship out of the NFC East, which
Really?
I was a little taken aback by. But again, it's early. You know, it's like you can't judge an entire season. We were talking about it. We have to split it up into quarters. The first quarter of the season sucked, but we're 2-2. So if that's the worst that we were going to play, and we go 3-1 every other quarter of the year, then we're having a different conversation in
Sure.
a couple weeks.
Sure.
That's a big if, but
That's fair. Do you want to go into swinging it?
yeah, let's swing it. Let's swing it all around.
I don't have the sound because this is a new account.
Swing it. Underdog Hey, it's swinging it. Let's do a quick recap of last week. We should have followed through with the Arizona pick.
Freaking Arizona Cardinals, man.
Of course. But God bless them. They beat the San Francisco Giants. Just kidding. San Francisco 49ers, who have the same record as the New York Giants, which that's pretty fun. That's great. That's something to be happy about. We can take that. So yeah, the Cardinals won I don't know how they came back and won that game. They ended up winning by 1. Our pick, the New Orleans Saints, it was risky, it was ballsy, and it did not work. The Kansas City Chiefs won, even though they were missing their top receiver, Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt, both finding the fountains of youth as they return to the Chiefs. I don't know what's going on in Kansas City, how they are able to just like, oh yeah, we'll just bring you back after a couple years and throw you right back out there into a starting role, and you're just going to lead our team to victory.
Something in the water.
Something in the freaking water. And now the Kansas City Royals are also whatever. We're done with baseball.
Yes.
Done with baseball.
Baseball
Kansas
season's
City
over.
Royals lost like 106 games last year and are now somehow in the playoffs. So yeah, there's something in the damn water, and I need it. I need it in my mouth. So I think we've only won 1 week, but again, let's split this season into quarters. We're about to go on a run, baby.
Hell yeah.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to glance over some of your favorite games of the week, but where are you leaning so far?
Give me the Philadelphia Eagles, man. I'm just kidding. I don't want.
Yeah, well, obviously, it sounds like you want the Browns.
No. So I'm feeling a bit guilty about not picking the Arizona Cardinals. I'm looking at this game of the Cardinals at the Green Bay Packers. They're 5.5-point underdogs. The way that the Rams were playing and were in the game pretty much the entire game against the Green Bay Packers last week, this looks a little compelling to me. And it's the Arizona Cardinals, so I have to show some love to Jonathan Gannon.
Back-to-back wins
good point.
On the road is just like, man, I mean, if they do that, it's super impressive. But like beating the 49ers in San Francisco and then beating the Packers in Green Bay back-to-back weeks, that is a tough task. And I feel like it's when you have dramatic victories, it's really hard to follow that back up. And the Packers are coming off of a loss, I want to say.
No, they won against the Rams.
They did beat the Rams. Okay. Yeah. Yep. So, the Cardinals are always, they always seem to be a very strong swinging it pick, but I'm a little hesitant going back to them after we already missed our chance last week.
So what do you got?
The first one that caught my eye is like the Jaguars have to win a game at some point, right? Like they're on the road against Chicago.
Yep.
Chicago just had a pretty nice win last week.
Caleb Williams looked good.
Caleb Williams. I mean, it's only a 2-point. The Jaguars are in Chicago. They're a 2-point underdog. So this game does feel like a bit of a coin flip. And like a 2-point underdog doesn't feel very exciting. But the first one I looked at and I was like, it seems like that could be an opportunity for the Jaguars to finally win a game. Other than that, I was a little shocked to see the Broncos as a 3-point underdog against the Chargers. The Broncos are at home. Their defense looks really, really good.
Right.
And
so does Bo Nix.
If he can just manage a game and like not turn the ball over and just convert, like they can do enough. So I'm kind of confused why the Chargers are a 3-point favorite in that game, but
you know what other game caught my eye is the Washington Commanders at the Baltimore Ravens, 6.5-point underdogs. That's an intriguing one to me because you've got two players in Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels that play this game very similarly. And the way that the Ravens have been playing this season tells me that their record isn't as good as it looks, or their style, their play isn't as good as what their record says. How about that?
Yeah, they got kind of lucky last week. Like I actually took the Bengals last week, or I was hoping we would take the Bengals as a swing and a pick, and it looked like it had a chance. It was just a shootout though. So like the Ravens defense isn't what we're used to seeing. And Lamar Jackson obviously is awesome, and Derrick Henry he looks incredible on that team. But they're not beating teams convincingly. So a lot of their games end up being shootouts. We could see, I mean, the over under for that game is 51.5. So that could be that could be a lot of scoring, which is fun. Can Washington really go to 5-1?
I have not seen a weakness out of this kid. And maybe it's because I've got somewhat small amount of fandom for Jaden Daniels that I feel like they can actually pull this off in Baltimore. But I'm looking at the Ravens' schedule here. They lost against the Raiders. They barely beat the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. That's the game that the Cowboys came back in.
Yep.
They lost against the Chiefs, and they almost lost against the 1-4 Bengals.
But the Bengals, they're a team that's going to have a chance every single week. Like, especially now that T. Higgins, offensively, they're always going to be in the game. Like, there's just seems like a lot of these teams, like the Eagles, that very, very strong offense. Well, not that we've necessarily seen it, but on paper, very strong offense, but not really able to stop anybody on defense, which can make for some fun, high-scoring games, I suppose. I kind of like this narrative. You brought it up earlier about Jaden Daniels, an MVP, and over there you got Lamar Jackson. We could be watching the passing of the torch of Lamar.
Oh, I like that.
So I think maybe just for that, I will ride you. I'm going to ride you on this, Ali. I'm going to ride your Commanders pick.
Making comments like "I'll ride you" and talking about Kansas City water, about needing it in your mouth.
Look, the worst thing that could happen in this game is that we're wrong and the Commanders lose, which would be good for the Eagles. So
yes,
let's play it safe here.
Agreed.
I'm spent, man. I'm absolutely spent. I'm sweaty. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. I'm a little sad, but it's all Phil. It's just all Phillies. I mean, this is part of being a sports fan, but I can really feel the effect it's having on my body right now.
Well, I think you should take this time to go eat your feelings. I'll send us home, and then we've got a pretty fun Thursday night football game coming up tomorrow with the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks.
You're right. My days are all out of whack, man. Oh, that's cool. We're getting this episode out on Thursday, not Friday. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, man, you got a busy day tomorrow, Drew. Thanks so much for kicking it with us, guys. This has been episode 89. Andrew Quick, Eagles player that wore the jersey 89.
Chad Lewis.
Chad Lewis, big Chad. Love that dude. Thanks for kicking it with us, guys. We've got the Eagles at the Browns at the Eagles this coming Sunday. Let's hope to God either we walk away from this week with either a win or a coachless team. Because either way, it's a win. Either way, it's a win.
That's good. But if they do not score more than 10 points, I'm sorry. I will not get over it. I won't.
Well, let's hope they score more than 10 points. It's been fun. I'm Ali. He's Andrew. Thanks for winging it with us. Go Birds.
Please, Birds. Please.